The Tour de OROC is something that's been going for a few years now, and it raises funds for a good cause that a lot of people from Mudgee are using. We'll find out more about that in a moment, but firstly, finding out a little bit more about the Tour de OROC. Leaving this morning, the chair of the organising committee for it is Mathew Dickerson. Good morning, Matthew. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. Very busy morning down here at Robertson Park, but good to be chatting to you.
It's going to be a big one as well. What is off on about a 1,000k journey over the next 6 days on bike?
I wish it was only 1,000k. It's 1,140 kilometres. That last 140 will be the real killer.
How many years have you been doing this now?
We started way back in 2013, and believe it or not, it was going to be a one-off event. It was just something to get the fundraising kick-started for Macquarie Homestay. There was an organising committee for Macquarie Homestay. It wasn't known as Macquarie Homestay at that stage, but there was an organising committee, and they were doing a little bit of fundraising, but they just weren't getting much interest from the government. So I sat down with Rod Crowfoot and Andrew McKay, who is the doyen of cycling events, and I said, I think we could do a bit of a fundraising event involving the whole OROC, as it was known at that stage, region, which had 12 councils in it. And I said, I think I can get every mayor around the region on a push bike, and I think we can raise a bit of money. And they laughed at me and said, well, you're crazy. But I managed to get every mayor, including some of the mayors that maybe were a bit older, and everyone joined in for 50 metres, 100 metres, even 20 or 30 kilometres. But from that first event, we raised about $170,000. On the back of that, then, the government realised there was a huge amount of community interest and community support and dollars. So they managed to get a couple of $1 million from the Cobra Transition Fund, if you remember way back to when that Cobra coal mine didn't go ahead. So they had the Cobra Transition Fund. And so as far as I was concerned, I'd done my job then, Craig. It was time to just keep on moving on with my life. But 2 years later, people said, that was such a great event. And Macquarie Homestay still needs more money. It's very much in need of more rooms, and the plans are there, but we haven't built it yet. So I must have had a moment of weakness, I think, and I gave in and said, let's just do one more. So every 2 years it seems to be just one more, just one more.
It starts in Mudgee today. You're going up to Armatree tonight. Now, one of the reasons you're starting in Mudgee this time around, I believe Mudgee is either the second or the third biggest user of Macquarie Homestay behind Cobar residents.
It's actually, yeah, it does sit up very high. It's always in the top four. It changes month to month, obviously, as people come to Homestay from around the region. But yeah, it's a very high user. We have started from Mudgee once before. The challenge for us is we've got a huge area to cover, and we like to include all the towns and regions across that whole area, but you can't do it every time because we try and limit the bike ride to 6 days, so people have only got to take a week off work and give up their time for that week. So we've started in Mudgee before, we've started in Wellington before. Sometimes we go through Lightning Ridge. This year we're not going through Lightning Ridge, for example. We go through Cobar this year, but previous years we haven't gone through Cobar. So we're always trying to just change it around. For people that are doing it on multiple occasions, we want the ride to be that little bit different. But we did think that Mudgee, being such a big user of it, back in 2017 when we started in Mudgee before, Macquarie Homestay didn't actually exist. So there was not really a huge amount of information about how much Mudgee people would use Homestay. Now it's built, it's in operation, you're right, they're a high user of it, so we thought it would be appropriate to go back to Mudgee again and start from Mudgee. And again, it just varies the ride around for people.
Yeah, and Macquarie Homestay, it's basically a place for patients and their partners or carers to stay in Dubbo while they're having treatment at Dubbo Base Hospital.
Exactly right. The idea was first started back by Dawn Fardell when she was a member for Dubbo, and Lillian Brady when she was the Mayor of Cobar. And one of the big issues they identified at that stage was that females who were pregnant were not coming in to Dubbo to have their baby with enough time to have their baby because it was expensive to come in, and babies come when babies come. So you might come in and wait around for a couple of weeks and you're staying in motels or staying on someone's couch. Not the most pleasant environment and a bit expensive. So the whole concept started to do that because the Royal Flying Doctor Service was having babies delivered up in the air, which again can't be that pleasant an experience. So that was the original concept, but it's gone further than that now because people do come to Dubbo for cancer treatments, for example, and they might be in Dubbo for extended periods of time. And the way Macquarie Homestay works is there's a funding process called IPTAS, and that's government funding that you get for staying away from home, but it only covers a small amount of a motel room. The idea of staying at Homestay is it covers the majority of the cost, and you've got to still pay a small amount to stay at Homestay, but it's something that's manageable rather than trying to stay at a motel.
How can people support the tour this morning before you head off, or when you head off this morning?
Well, if they've got 5 minutes, just duck down now and wave us off. That gives the riders a huge amount of motivation to go, wow, there's people out there cheering us on. But obviously, it's all about fundraising. So if you just go and Google Macquarie Homestay Give Now, GIVENOW, and that will give you a fundraising page. All the individual riders have got their own individual fundraising page, and there's also just a generic fundraising page there that you can just donate money to. So that's the easiest way to do it. But don't underestimate that power of that motivation. The riders are about to set off on 1,140 kilometres. It scares me just saying it, Craig, but they're about to set off on a big trip. Even the first day just across to Armatree via Dunedoo, Manduran. I mean, even that's a bit of a big trip. Once you get past Armatree or really past Gilgandra, it's pretty flat, but the first morning's a bit hilly.
Yeah, I've been up to the ridge a few times. Love going up there. So, yeah, it's always the thing. Once you get past Gill, it's pretty flat.
Yeah, and that makes it a bit more pleasant. But the heat too, I remember one year we were riding from the Burke to Cobar leg is almost a rest day. It's only 160 kilometres that day. But the temperature, we all had our computers, our Garmin's on our bike, and they were showing 55 degrees out in the open air. So it gets pretty hot when you're doing that. Headwinds can hurt, tailwinds are fantastic. So it varies from day to day, from hour to hour, and just your motivation levels. That's the real challenge, the mental challenge of being on the bike for 12 hours through the day.
Matthew, we'll leave it there. Good luck with the ride. Good luck. And Macquarie Homestay is where you can make donations, macquariehomestay.com.au. There's a donate link on their website. Thanks for your time this morning.
Thanks, Craig. Appreciate your time.